Good morning. Good to see y'all. I've got 11:29, so I'm going to give a couple of minutes here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. And Hannah, is that you on the iPhone?
Yes.
Good. Good morning.
Okay. Good morning.
And because I
Hello? Was that a question? No. All right, slowly but surely, I'll give just another minute. But thank you for being prompt. Who just joined us on an iPhone?
It's me. Adam.
Thank you, Amy. We're giving it just another minute and we'll get started. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get going. So, you know basically what's in store today. And I did already send you out some slides, but I'm going to step through these just by way of trying to be diligent and hoping to prepare you as well as possible. So I hope that there'll be more joining, but this will be recorded and people who don't hear it from the start can get it that way. Let me get my screen organized a little better. Oh, come on. There we go. All right. So these are some slides I used to use when, in live classrooms to prepare for what we used to call the exit exam. The department for like 35 years at Bunker Hill had a requirement that you have a writing exercise in the fashion that we're trying to simulate today, where you read ahead of time. You would come to class and get your topic and write, and you would complete the essay before you left class. And the other part of it, though, is that each teacher, in addition to reading the essays themselves, would take them to a workshop where they would be read anonymously by other teachers who would either pass or fail them. And as a teacher, if someone happened to fail an essay that you thought was a pass, you could get other teachers to read it. So there was a kind of check on it. But the point was it was meant to be a little bit more objective, that you didn't have teachers simply favoring students or holding grudges against students. The essay went on its own merit. And so that was our process for many years. I think that it's been disrupted by being online. It's a hard thing to do without meeting live. And I'm not, other things have changed in the department. It may go away, but I just wanted to let you know that's sort of where this idea comes from. And think about it too. If you had a in-class essay, typically most classes that would have been an hour and 15 minutes. I mostly taught classes that were went back to back, like a reading and writing class combined. So I could allow students to take 2.5 hours or 3 or whatever, and I didn't put a time limit. But most students did this within an hour and 15 minutes. But let me show let me just step through though what we're doing and what I think is important for you to think about to do your best. And I sent this out last night in a slightly different version, but so you may have already gotten to see it, but just bear with me. I'm just trying to help you get well oriented. All right, so our assignments could be in class, which is, we're not in class, and so there'll be some qualifications about that. But what I mean it to be is I'd like you to do this assignment as soon after you get it as possible. And so if you are free in the next couple of hours, you should just go ahead and write and finish this. If you aren't free, either because of work or children or other commitments, I still want you to do it in basically one sitting. And I'll add here, I want you to do it regardless by Sunday night. So if you aren't able to do it right after class or this afternoon, look for your next open opportunity where you can devote 2 to 3 hours and complete this assignment. In 2 or 3 hours, maybe more than you've put into other essays, but I'm saying, say 1 to 3, something like that. Okay, so your essay, as you know, is going to be in response to one of these 3 readings, or excuse me, these 4. And here's been my thought process. Originally, I was going to get everyone to write about a poem. So the first 3 was what I had in mind. And then as I think I probably indicated last week, I added an essay just in case somebody really had, a fear of poems or didn't want to write about a poem. I want to encourage you to think about writing about a poem. The reason I expose you to them, I feel like if you can write about a poem or understand poems, you can read most anything. Excuse me, I'm going to make a correction. And I'm going to add here. Okay, so, excuse me, So think about the other good thing. If you have not already read Why I Fear for My Sons, I would encourage you to work with the poem simply because they're shorter. You can study it more easily, and but you're welcome to do any. They will all count equally. All right. But those are the 4 things you're going to be responding. You'll be choosing one topic on one of those. And so here's your goal for this assignment. Mainly, you just want to write a good essay, okay? And that means it's clear. It means it's well organized. And I just am trying to get you to see this isn't a discussion question where you just dive in, but you introduce it and you frame it in a good way. You have at least 2 paragraphs in your body and you have a conclusion. And you develop all your ideas carefully. Think back about the rubric. Look at the rubric if you need to remember the grading rubric, if you need to remember sort of what you're striving for. But you've got 2 goals. You want to show you understand the reading, that you get it and you can talk about it. And you want to connect that reading to your own experience. And you'll see that all of the topics use this pattern of getting you to talk about the reading and then talk about what it tells you what you see in it that connects to your own experience. So, I tried to tell you what to do before class. Ideally, you've already done this, but if you haven't, this is what you should take a few minutes, take the time to do. Study the poems and the essay carefully. You just have to make sure you understand them. You get the main idea, you see how the ideas are developed. And then, as well as understanding the reading, you want to connect it to your own experience. And the main reason to have read them all, or at least have read all the poems, if you didn't choose the essay, is so you can see which one you're most comfortable with. Because when you come to class, one of the important, now the next most important step is going to be choosing your topic and making sure you're comfortable with that. The second thing is to really use the whole writing process. All right, so ideally you would have done this already, but here's to give you a checklist if you hadn't. Study the readings carefully. And again, if you haven't done the essays, I'd focus on the poems. Just read them carefully and more than once. You may want to read them aloud. That usually helps. You would have been free to discuss it with someone because talking about something often helps you understand it. Mark it up as you need to. What do you think is the main idea? Are there any words you don't know? You should be looking them up just to be sure that everything in it is something you can process. And look for any sentences or phrases that jump out as you as something that would help. If you quoted that, it would help you talk about the poem or the essay. And this may be part of your pre-writing now, but maybe you want to take what you're writing about and see if you can summarize it in 2 or 3 sentences. That's just a way of showing yourself you understand what it's about. And then you want to think about, again, how it connects to your own experience, okay? And if beforehand, you might have already tried to imagine, well, if I'm going to talk about this, this is what I need to be thinking about. But you'll soon have the topic, so you don't need to speculate there. So usually if you had done that work, you should have come into class really confident. You know the readings, you've thought about what they say, you've thought about how they might connect to your experience. And so then you just need to be ready to work quickly and steadily. And this is still true. If you're going to keep writing as soon as I quit talking, you can dive right in, okay? You should be ready to go. If for any reason you need to study more, you should do that before you get to your sitting. Before you sit down to write your essay. But I mainly want to reassure you, there's really no need to panic. You have plenty of time. Even if we were in class, you would have plenty of time. And so you just need to work hard and focus on what you want to say and how to say it well. So in a minute, though, when we're going to go through the topics and you need to choose one, and you want to read every one of them. We're going to read them together, but you want to think about all of them so that you don't want to just take the first one without looking at the others because one later might have been clearer to you. That's why you just want to take them all in. And you want to think about what the question's asking you that you're going to have to write about the reading. What is it asking me about that? But also how would that connect to my experience? You've got to think about both things. And then you just simply choose the topic that you understand best and that you're most comfortable with. And that means you both understand the question and you understand how it connects to the poem or the essay and how it connects to your experience. And the last step's really important. It may, once you choose your topic, forget about the others. That's going to be less a hazard today because you're going to have only one prompt for each reading. Usually there's one reading and multiple prompts, and often students would blur their answers. It's possible you would do that, but I think it should be pretty easy today to just focus on the one topic you've chosen. All right, once you choose it, once you have your topic, and this is what I want you to carry away as necessary for your rest of your college work, anytime you're writing on an exam or anything, think about what you're going to write before you write it, and then check it. Make sure you don't need to see where you need to correct it, but you definitely need to do that here. You want to use your writing process. And here's kind of what that looks like. Think about the question you're answering and formulate your response, formulate your main idea. And I'm gonna help a little bit with that because I probably haven't emphasized this enough. But usually when you have a writing prompt, your main idea is kind of a restatement of that. And I'll give you an example looking at the at our assigned prompts in just a few minutes. Then you want to brainstorm details about your response. And some of those are going to be based on the reading, and some of those are going to be based on your own experience. And then just get a simple outline. You want to have outline at least one paragraph based on the reading, and in one paragraph, one of these assignments requires at least two on your experience. And it's a good idea, if you can, to come up with a topic sentence for each body paragraph and to just list details so that when you go to write, you're not having to think of everything that goes with it, but you're kind of premeditated. You already know what examples you want, what details you're going to work in. If you're writing about one of the poems, you know some of the quotes that you want to use. That's the kind of thing that I'm talking about, or the essay, quotes from whichever reading. And similarly, you've gotten some details from your own experience that fit what you're going to write about. And you just list those so that you don't have to think as hard while you're actually drafting. So then you're ready to write. You know your thesis. You have a topic sentence and a list of details for each body of the paragraph. All right. So now that you've planned, you start writing. And I'm emphasizing here, you have to have an introduction. Try to have what we've talked about as a hook, your main idea, and the blueprint. Realize, because you're talking about another reading, in the opening paragraph, you should be including the title of the reading and the author's name. You should be citing that. Remember, we talked about strategies for a hook might be beginning with a question, beginning with a quote. Sometimes beginning with the word when can get you off on a good track. When something happened, you thought of X or whatever. But quotes and question marks are good ways to start. Blueprints, just anticipating, letting the reader know what's coming. Then draft 2 or more paragraphs on the body. And the point of taking those notes is that's a lot simpler if you've outlined a little bit. And then when you get your conclusion, a couple of these topics tell you what to, suggest where you should focus in the conclusion. And if they do, just be sure you address that focus. If you don't have a clear focus, think about what's the most important lesson I got from this, or what do I most want the reader to remember? Focus on your conclusion in that way. And notice I say aim for 4 sentences, especially on in-class work. Students would have I'm going to get out of here quickly, and they would have a 1-sentence conclusion. Sometimes 1-sentence conclusions can be effective, but I'm asking you to develop your idea more thoroughly. So try to think in terms of about 4 sentences so that you know that you've ended stating what's most important for someone to come away with. Okay? All right. So after you finish, this is back to your writing process, you're going to read over what you wrote carefully. Just make sure you've said what you meant to say. And let me pause a second too. Even if I'm telling you to do this in one sitting, of course, when you finish, you can take a break for a minute. And you want to do that so you come back and can read more freshly. If you're at home and you have a printer, print it out. Reading your essay printed will help you see it more freshly to correct. But read over what you wrote. Make sure it says what you meant it to. Be sure you've paragraphed, you've got breaks. If you have, even though you thought you were writing 1 paragraph, if it goes on for 3/4 of a page, it might read better as 2. So think about your paragraphing after you've finished drafting. check your punctuation clearly. Okay, carefully, excuse me, be sure that that you've started sentences and ended them without carrying on too long, and that you just pay attention to the punctuation in that way. If you didn't start with a title, be sure to add one. Okay, you want to be sure that your essay has a good title that gives your reader a window into what you think is important in it. All right, so that's the revision stage. So this is the simple stuff. Just know the reading well, think and plan before you write, draft all three parts of the essay, and then read and revise carefully before posting it. Okay, that's what you need to do. So again, if we were in class, I may not have been compelled to say this, but because we meet so tangentially, I'm just trying to reinforce the right habits of writing to get that to help you on this assignment. All right, so this assignment's important for a very particular reason. We're nearing the completion of the course. And so I'm going to be grading this, reading it, seeing if this essay confirms you've done the best work you can do for the whole semester, confirms you've done good work. If this essay is good and you've kept up all along, this will be your last essay for the class, okay? I will allow you, like if I wind up saying, okay, given what you've done here and given all your homework, I would say that this is a B minus. I'm probably going to require it to be an A or a B if we stop here. But say I tell you your grade would be a B minus. You will have the option of writing again next week to pull that up. But if you're satisfied and I'm satisfied, and I have to be satisfied first, okay, you can stop after writing this essay. If I read this essay and it still shows it needs a lot of improvement, or maybe you've missed an essay, anything like that, then you will need to write another essay next week. And I will be sending the reading out for that sometime soon, probably over the weekend. So you have some time to look at it, but it'll be the same procedure next Friday for you to write a second essay. But I think the good news, those of you who've been conscientious, those of you whose work has been on a good track, maybe even your work's been uneven, but this is your chance to show that you can write a good essay on the spot, and that can help you show that you're done at this point. All right, so let's see, where are we going? All right, so that's it there. Any questions about that? Okay, and again, I'm just being a little compulsive to try to be sure I've oriented you well. And so now let me go to the topics. And I'm sorry, who is Nana? Let me just be sure I understand who's in the class. Nana?
Hello?
Yes,
It's me, Adriana Correa.
I'm sorry, who is it?
It's Adriana Correa.
Oh, Ariana, thank you. Okay. Thank you. I just didn't recognize the name. And thank you. I saw you had done further revision, and I'll be looking at that, okay? I appreciate you doing that. Okay, so let me get up your assignments. Now, again, if we were in, hold on just a second. If we had been meeting live and we weren't on this kind of shortened thing, I probably would have just passed this out and not commented. But since we're meeting over Zoom, I'm going to go over at least get you to read out the topics so that all of you can hear them. And I chose, this is the format I have here kind of covers what I gave you in those slides. This used to be the heading on the this final essay exam. And I'm not calling it an exam, but that's what it used to be called. These were just to remind you of good things. It starts out saying 350 words. That's just to let you know it's meant to be substantial. I've never counted words, but notice that it does say you need an introduction. You need at least 2 body paragraphs. You need a conclusion. And so in that sense, that's where the 350 words go, because you've got to write a full essay and develop it well. But this is just there to remind you of the right habits and the kinds of things you could be graded on, like my slides did. But with that, let's look at the 4 topics. And the first 3 are about the poems. So let's see, give me a second. Sorry. Fernanda, do you mind reading that first one for us?
Yes. Won't you celebrate with me?
Yes.
Lucille, how do I pronounce her name? Lucille?
Yes, Lucille Clifton.
Okay. Lucille Clifton asks us, won't you celebrate with me? What is it about herself she wants us to celebrate? Does what she wants to celebrate about herself make you realize something about your own life that you are proud of and want to celebrate too? Write an essay explaining what Lucille Clifton says about herself that she wants us to celebrate with her. Then connect what she's celebrating to your own experience by explaining something about yourself that her poem makes you realize deserves celebrating too. In your conclusion, address the most valuable lesson you learned from Lucille Clifton's poem.
Thank you, Fernanda. And so, okay, so now this should be obvious how you're trying to understand, be able to talk about what something important in the poem and then connect that to yourself. And she says, won't you celebrate won't you celebrate with me? And then later she starts the poem that way. And then she says, celebrate with me. And so what is it we're going to celebrate? What does she think's important? And I think, and I hope that in her discovering something that she thinks worth celebrating in her life, that helps you think about something you may not have recognized in that way, but something you're proud of. That's basically what that's getting at. I had a hard time here. I said you realize deserve celebrating. I had was worth celebrating, is cause for celebration, calls out for celebration. But you know, the point is that there's something that you are proud of. Maybe you didn't realize you were proud of it. Maybe other people wouldn't see it automatically in you, but that's something that you now can appreciate, and this poem helped you see that. That's what that's working toward. Okay. So I'm really not going to take questions, though I will say that once you start working on your essay, if you have a question, you can contact me. But really, this is meant for you to get the topic and go to work. And so we're just going to read them so you can be sure you've seen them all together. So this next one's on the talk. Tyler, how about you read this one for us, please?
Jabari Azim's, am I saying that right? The talk describes a conversation between Black parents and their children that many believe is a must in Black families today. Write an essay in which you explain the purpose of the talk and why it is necessary. According to Jabari Azim's poem, then describe the connection of the talk to your own experience. For example, did your parents give you this talk? Do you anticipate giving this talk to your own children? Why or why not? In your conclusion, speak to what you think of the fact that this conversation has become commonplace in Black families and communities today.
Yeah. Thank you there, Tyler. And let me go through this just a little bit more. I think it's the same. I think you did fine with that. Jabari is saying. What was a little tricky here is his poem's called The Talk, but it's also, I want you to think about what is the talk Why is it necessary? What's the purpose of it? Why is it necessary? Not just based on what you think about it already, but according to the way he talks about it in his poem. Okay. And so use his poem to help us understand the purpose of the talk and why it's necessary. And then you're going to connect it to your own experience. And you may or may not have experience with this, but why would that be so? And can you imagine it being part of your parenting in the future? Might be another way to think about it. But so that's what the question's getting at. Now on the end here, this is a little complicated sentence, but in your conclusion, speak to what you think of the fact that this conversation has become commonplace in Black families and communities today. What does that mean that that this has become a norm? What do you think about that? How do you feel about that? That's what that conclusion's asking you to do there. Okay. All right. So those are the first two poems. And let's go to the third. Let's see. Jason, could you read that one for us?
Yes, I got it. Rumi says, "This being human is a guest house. Write an essay explaining what he means by that. Support your explanation with words and phrases from the poem as evidence, and then with 2 examples from your own life. In your essay, be sure to include an introductory paragraph, 3 or more body paragraphs, and a conclusion paragraph. Plan the body to be 1 paragraph or more on what the poem shows Rumi means by this being human is a guest house. Then devote 1 paragraph or more of each of the 2 examples you use from your own life. In conclusion, highlight what you believe to be the most important lesson you learned from the guest house."
Thank you there. All right. Rumi is the only, Lucille Clifton died just a few years ago. She wrote during the, like from the 70s through the early 2000s. And Jabari Asim is still writing. Rumi, though, wrote like 7 centuries ago. He was a Persian poet. And so that's a more ancient text, even though this translation of it feels very contemporary. And that's not relevant, only to just help you see them in time. What's different about this one is that I've asked you to, in the body, to include 2 examples from your own life. So here, your body would have to be a minimum of 3 paragraphs, because you'll have 1 paragraph about the poem, what he means by it being this being human is a guest house. You'd have 1 paragraph on that, and then you would have 2 different experiences. And so this one would be slightly different in that way. And I think you'll connect here. I think if you've read the poem and digested it, you should have an easy time seeing connections to different experiences, because mainly what he's talking about in the guest house is all kinds of things come at us. And that's a small help there. But now let's read one more. And Hannah, do you mind reading this one for us? I'm trying to get those of you who were.
Okay, the baby is okay.
Yeah,
Give me 1
4.
second.
Yes, number 4.
Okay. Why I Fear for My Son by Kimberly Nobel. Kimberly Norwood expressed concern for the safety of her children. She believes they are unfair, targeted by police, and that their skin color puts them at extra risk. Do you believe children of color in America face more risk than white children? Explain your position, citing evidence from Norwood's essay and your own experience.
Thank you there. Appreciate it, Hannah. Okay, so you can see this is the same thing of you need to explain what she means And here you're basically, do you agree with her? Do you believe children of color in America face more risk than white children? And so I alluded earlier, I said, you take what you're being asked and you can almost formulate your main idea from that. Here, in all likelihood, your main ideas could be either, yes, you agree that children of color face more risk than white children, and you'll have reasons for that, both from her essay and from your own experience, or you disagree, despite what she says, this is what you believe. But that's one way that you can see that just how you respond, how you're going to answer kind of determines your main idea. Let's see if we can do a similar thing with the guest house. Here, your main idea would be, here's what Rumi means by this in a sentence, or something like that. And I can show that further with these experiences. Something like that would probably be what that would come through. Let's see here. Describe it. So write an essay in which you explain the purpose of the talk. And I think in that, just by saying what the talk is, you're gonna, it'd be hard to do that without giving your idea about how did this come about? What does the purpose of this and why it's necessary? What does that say about life in America today? Something about that would be the kernel of your main idea. And I think here, let's see, what does she celebrate? What does she make? I think there the main idea would be to say she wants to celebrate, and some sort of simple summary of what she wants to celebrate, and that what she's doing is helping, realizing that there are things in us we should celebrate, whether others see them or not, something like that. But that gives you, but the point is, think about the question, and how you're answering it is going to lead you to your main idea. So this, that you should have noticed there, I've put this, the essay assignments are in your assignment folder under essay assignments, and it's dated today. Okay. So that's where you can find this to go back and read further. And let me stop sharing again. Okay, a couple more. So, let me just pause now and repeat what I said at the beginning. Ideally, if you have time now and you've done your reading, you've studied enough, you're ready to write, just go ahead and, catch your breath, read through those assignments if you haven't decided already what you want, and go ahead and begin writing. And then ideally, you could then post your essay within a couple of 3 hours. All right. If for any reason that timing's not good, just use your first opportunity where you have at least 2 or 3 hours together in case you need that much. And be sure that that's no later than Sunday night. Now, I will acknowledge one other thing, since we're having to work in this remote way. If you spend 2 hours writing today, you're welcome to just let that sit until tomorrow and read it over before you post it. So I'm not going to be offended if you take a little longer to be sure you check yourself carefully. But it is a goal to submit it as soon as you can. And so I do want you to keep that in mind. So let me pause there. I hope that I've probably given you more reinforcement about the way to approach this, but I really, because I don't get to see you face to face, like right now, I'm not getting any eye contact, right? I want to be sure that you've gotten enough, I've gotten you oriented in a way that will just get you tuned in to writing a good essay. And so I hope both the slides help you with that, and even those simple instructions at the top of your assignment sheet will give you a good reminder too. Again, are there any questions this minute? I'm going to repeat one thing. If you haven't, I only included an essay in case you didn't want, in case you had were felt allergic to writing about a poem. I think all of you can write about a poem. And I would say if you're, in all likelihood, if you haven't read the essay yet, choose a poem to write with. The essay is also perfectly fine too. If that topic really appealed to you, you could feel free to do that. Everything's going to count the same. But I am encouraging you to try the poems. I just didn't want to restrict you to only having those. Okay? All right. If there are no questions, I'm going to end. And like I said, if once you get to work, you wind up having a question, you can contact me and I'll try to reach you as quickly as I can. You have my phone number. That would be the best way to do it, to text me. And with that, I'm going to stop. Anything else from you?
Sir, just to make sure that I might have I don't think I have your phone number.
Well, it's in the syllabus, Jason.
Got it. Okay.
Which is
I
on.
actually have something.
Yeah.
Mr. Likas.
Yeah.
Whilst you were talking, I actually already somewhat got started.
Yeah.
And I already put it in a doc. So if that reaches you somehow, I'd actually like you to grade it by Sunday so I could have some time to look it over.
Well, I'm not, let me hold on just a second. I just put, just a second, let me do this. Okay, I put my phone number in the chat just in case, so you have it more simply. Tyler, I will be grading them as quickly as I can. I'm not sure I can commit to doing it by Sunday night, but I'm not going to be asking you to rewrite this. If I think that you need more practice, or that, that if you want to pull your grade up a little bit more, I'll let you know that as soon as I can. But rather than revising this, you're going to be writing another essay next week. Do you follow me?
Oh, yeah, all right. Thank you.
Okay, I hope that that's clear. Any other questions? Okay, now listen, good luck, have fun. In case, I'll be in touch with you electronically or some way, but I have enjoyed working with you. And if it happens to be, this is the last time that we're online together, but it's been good working with you. I appreciate all of your efforts. I hope that whatever you need to do well on this assignment you have, and if not, you will let me know, okay? So good luck with your work.
Thank you so much.
All right, y'all
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Y'all take care.
Thank you very much.